I woke up this morning before sunrise to pray. June 2nd, 2015. I'll never forget that day. When my youngest child was killed, his murder covered up in lies, killed by the BPD and the FBI, is forever etched in my mind, a web of lies and injustice. The murderers left behind.
It was a case that made your hair stand up.
He was intent on taking out somebody, and it was either us or them.
An accused homegrown terrorist's plot foiled. Usaamah Rahim shot in a busy parking lot by the people he's accused of threatening, the police.
They were prepared for him with weapons drawn.
The interaction caught on camera. The district attorney deciding the officer's actions were justified. But years later, the Rahim family says something's not right.
I said, my son, they told me my son was here, and I heard he got shot. Someone came over to me and said, sorry, we had to shoot him. He had a knife he was waving. I said, a knife? He said, yeah, he was waving a knife at us, and so we had to shoot him.
His grieving, unrelenting mother taking the case to a judge. She wants to unlock federal documents she believes could hold answers about why her son's life ended. And we've learned that prosecutors in Boston plan to take a second look at the case.
They have experienced a homicide just like any of our other homicide survivors. Whether there is fault attributed to the police for the death of their loved ones is of no import to them.
Join us for an in-depth look at a case that captivated Boston. Hear witness reports from that day in 2015, the phone conversation happening moments before the killing, and why police say they have qualified immunity.
The heart of this fight rests with the families in their quest for justice.
Now, with calls for social justice across the country, new eyes are on the case of Usaamah Rahim. But will it bring the justice his grieving family hopes for? Rahimah Rahim remembers the morning of June 2nd, 2015, like any other morning.
The day that Usaamah went out of the house, I said salams to him. He headed out to the bus stop.
The mother and 26-year-old son were close.
I have 5 children, 5 biological children, and 1 stepson. And Usaamah was the youngest of all of them. So he was like the baby in the family.
He was also very close with his nephew, David Wright, who was just about the same age.
They played together as though they were cousins or brothers and sisters, you know. We travel a lot together. Usaamah, again, as I said, he was 7 months older than his nephew, David. But David was like twice the size of Usaamah.
Usaamah Rahim grew up in a Muslim family in Boston. He graduated from Brookline High in 2007. Then he and his family moved to Miami, where he started taking classes at a community college.
Usaamah really developed from that, the kid that I would have to, push him out of the bed in the morning to make sure that he got to his class, to somebody who was just so motivated. He was an excellent student in college, very independent, motivated. He wanted to be a journalist, and then he wanted to be a criminologist. He couldn't decide, so he took courses in both areas. He was excelling with his writing. He was just a good student.
The family lived in Saudi Arabia several times when Usaamah and his older brother were boys. Rahima and her husband taught English as a second language. His mother says as he grew older, Usaamah became passionate about volunteering with the homeless and senior citizens.
They gave him this medal with his name engraved on the back, Usaamah Rahim, for volunteer recognition in 2013. This was 2 years before he died.
Mother and son eventually moved back to Boston's Roslindale neighborhood to the apartment complex behind a busy shopping center. Rahim began working in security at a CVS, then a Best Buy. He just started a new relationship with a woman when he left the house that June morning. His mom says the relationship was serious. This is surveillance video of Usaamah Rahim at that CVS in the shopping center near his home, not long before his mother and girlfriend got a call from her other son, Muhammad.
He was talking to his brother, Muhammad, and his father on the cell phone. When Muhammad called me on my cell phone and said something happened to Usaamah. She said there's a lot of noise and we don't know what happened to him. When we lived in Miami, he had started having seizures just out of the blue, never had seizures before. So I thought that's what happened to him when his brother said something happened to him. We heard a lot of noise around him, and I'm like, maybe he had a seizure. So I sent the young lady out because I was just getting dressed to go to work. So she ran through the back parking lot and she got to the CVS and she called me. And she said, Mom, she said, Usaamah's just laying on the ground and I'm still thinking maybe he had a seizure. She said, and the people are saying he got shot. I said, what?
The video of the confrontation with Usaamah Rahim in the busy Boston shopping center was released just days after the shooting. Investigators told the public that two men were plotting a terrorist attack on police officers. It was a charged accusation that terrified people living in the area. It also reminded the city of a homegrown attack that wasn't stopped by police. The Boston Marathon bombings just 2 years before.
It's a busy place in the morning. This parking lot shared by Dunkin' Donuts, CVS, and Burger King. It was busy right up till the time violence struck.
Usaamah Rahim was killed by police, allegedly after he lunged at them with a knife.
Someone got killed in here, killed up there. Too much killing.
Dramatic NECN video as a man is taken into custody from 208 Linden Street in Everett by the FBI and police.
The Suffolk County District Attorney's Office will investigate whether those officers' actions were in fact justified here in Roslindale.
News of a police shooting spread fast.
I hear the noise earlier.
Usaamah Rahim was shot and killed by members of a joint FBI task force on June 2nd, 2015. Then Police Commissioner William Evans spoke soon after the shooting.
The level of alarm brought us to question him today. I don't think anyone expected the reaction we were going to get out of him, and that's why we had the tragic turnout.
The deadly encounter began when police approached Rahim as he walked to a bus stop through the Roslindale shopping center near his apartment. Officers didn't want him to get on a bus. The Suffolk County District Attorney says Rahim was heard on a wiretap phone call that morning, making threats to attack police officers in Boston that day. The district attorney says the FBI began investigating Rahim after they received information he pledged his allegiance to ISIS and made threats about carrying out a terrorist attack. Two co-conspirators, his nephew David Wright and another man, Nicholas Ravinsky, were also under investigation. According to investigators, the three were originally planning to behead this woman, Pamela Geller, for her anti-Muslim rhetoric. But on June 2nd, Rahim made a new plan, according to the DA and federal prosecutors, after he was overheard on that wiretap phone call planning to attack the, quote, boys in blue. It was a plan the DA says investigators thought was alarming enough that members of the Joint Terrorism Task Force were waiting in the shopping center parking lot. What happened next was caught on blurry surveillance video. The district attorney at the time, Dan Conley, said the video shows Rahim walking through the CVS parking lot toward the bus stop on Washington. Within seconds, two people are coming toward Usaamah Rahim. Boston police say they are members of the Joint Terrorism Task Force. A third, a fourth, and a fifth person, also law enforcement officers, according to the district attorney, appear from behind parked cars and join the group to approach Rahim. The first officers start to retreat as the person in the circle, identified by the district attorney as Rahim, walks toward them. The district attorney says at this point, Rahim has a knife and he's pointing it at the officers. The group moves back to the center of the parking lot. The officers fan out around Rahim and draw their weapons. Then you see Rahim fall as a school bus drives into view. The entire encounter unfolding while the parking lot is still active with people going about their day. After Rahim is shot, the officers appear to render aid as police cruisers with flashing lights appear. Rahim was taken to the hospital, alive, his mother was told, but by the time she got to Brigham and Women's in Boston, it was too late.
I went into that room and they had him laying on a stretcher, and he looked as though he was sleeping, and he had a smile on his face, just like he always smiled. His body was still warm, his face was warm, but he was gone. He was dead. The doctor was crying with me. He said, "I'm sorry." He said, "We tried to do what we could. We opened his chest and we gave him open heart massage, but, you know, he was dead."
Following the shooting, then Boston Mayor Marty Walsh stood by the actions of law enforcement.
Great police work and great work by the FBI yesterday to prevent what could have been a very tough situation. It's not something that you expect in a neighborhood, particularly that neighborhood. It's a very quiet neighborhood in Roslindale, and you don't expect that in any neighborhood in the city of Boston or even in the United States. But unfortunately, our world is changing, so we have to be more diligent.
Days after Rahim's death, District Attorney Dan Conley released the surveillance video explaining why.
It's in everyone's best interest to share it as soon as it is possible to tamp down rumors and bad information.
Massachusetts Governor Charlie Baker agreed with the district attorney's decision.
The decision the Boston PD made and the FBI made to show the video that was available to community leaders and to do that relatively quickly after the incident was a very appropriate and I think sensible way to handle it.
But before the surveillance video was shown to the public, the Rahim family got a chance to see it.
It took me months before I could even take a look at the video.
Religious and community leaders, including Imam Abdullah Farouk, also had a chance to see it. Farouk is the leader of the Mosque Praise Allah in Roxbury. He is one of the principal imams in Boston and personally knew Usaamah and his family for decades. We spoke to him recently about the video.
There were school buses and other things moving around that time of the morning, and he lived 200 yards away. They knew, why didn't they just go to his house and get him? Why didn't they approach him when he's coming out the door instead of approaching him in the mall? It was poorly done, and they didn't have to kill him. I believe the police need to protect themselves from danger. I just know that if they wanted to get him and capture him like they did Whitey Bulger, who had many guns in the wall and money and everything else, they captured him out in California, so they didn't have to kill this young man.
He put the video out for two reasons.
Attorney Michael Coyne, who has no relation to this case, says the surveillance video became justification for the police officer's actions that day.
To hopefully quell some of the tension surrounding the case. Another case of law enforcement shooting, as some would see it too quickly, a black man to death. Legitimately, that's an issue for our country to address, and we have not addressed it well so far. So I think what he wanted to do is certainly put the facts out there so that people could look at it and view it and judge law enforcement's actions in that regard. The second reason is because as he sees it, and I think as many people who would view that video would see it, it does tend to justify law enforcement's actions that day. It certainly does appear to show him approaching law enforcement with a potentially deadly weapon, depending on how it's used, not adhering to their commands on multiple occasions.
But Usaamah's mother, Rahima, wants to know more. She wants to know what information the Joint Terrorism Task Force had that deemed her son so dangerous. She says she was blindsided by the news that the DA and investigators say he pledged allegiance to ISIS.
He lived with me. I would have noticed any changes in him.
Rahima Rahim wants to see the information the Suffolk County District Attorney's Office has from the FBI. She wants to know what information led federal investigators to shoot and kill her son in the first place. A log of the documents the DA's office received shows information that includes surveillance notes, personal information of law enforcement, and confidential investigative techniques.
In 2016, the district attorney issued a findings report which explained his reasoning that the officers that were involved in the fatal shooting would not be criminally charged for the death of Usaamah. And in that report, he noted that he had reviewed the documents that he had received from the FBI.
Rahima Rahim requested those documents through a public records request. She received some, To get the rest, she filed a lawsuit and is represented in part by ACLU attorney Jesse Rossman.
She requested documents relating to his death, including the documents that went into the decision that the law enforcement officers who were involved in that shooting would not be criminally charged. The district attorney, while providing some documents, refused to provide any of the documents that the FBI had provided because of the claim that they had been provided to the district attorney's office on loan.
The district attorney's position is that those are not my documents to release. If you want those, then proceed with the FBI and the federal government and file a Freedom of Information Act request with them. They would be able to provide it to you if they chose to. Now some public documents still retain a level of confidentiality to them, especially when there's ongoing potential criminal investigations or proceedings.
And the case is really about a very simple question. Can a Massachusetts agency that requests, receives, relies upon, and retains documents from the federal government simultaneously withhold those documents from the public? And as we've argued to the state Supreme Judicial Court, the answer to that question is no.
The Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court, in part, agreed. It ruled December 31st, 2020, that the district attorney can't withhold all FBI files related to Usaamah Rahim's case. In other words, FBI files are still subject to state public information laws.
The district attorney since then has provided a revised index, and ultimately, of those documents that had previously been withheld in full, has now provided 60 pages of documents to Rahima, some of which have been redacted, others not, that had previously been withheld until she brought this lawsuit.
Attorney Rossman says the implications of the court's decision here could affect other people in Massachusetts.
The state public records law is about transparency. It's about ensuring that people who live in Massachusetts can know the documents that their own government officials are using and relying upon to make decisions in their name. But that only works if the public uses the public records law and if they speak up when they think that it's not being applied correctly. So what happened here was not just about the records that Rahima received, although those were important. It also is about confirming that Massachusetts has a robust, transparency-focused public records law that anyone in the Commonwealth can use to ensure that they understand what the government is doing in their name.
The Rahim family insists the surveillance video showing the last moments of their son's life is too grainy to make out whether he's waving a knife.
They can't prove to me that he had a knife. The only witnesses that said he had a knife were the police who killed him. The other witnesses don't say that they could see that Usaamah had a knife in his hand. How could he be talking to his father on the phone and then welding a knife at them and talking at the same time? And where did he get it from? Where did he pull it from?
According to transcripts from official police interviews, even in the moment in a busy parking lot, many witnesses didn't get a clear view of what was happening. One man, listed in the police report as civilian witness DM, says he saw Rahim slowly walk toward the men who approached him. He couldn't see Rahim's face, but the witness noticed something he described as silver in his hand. Another witness told police the suspect's hands were down, but he could see officers' guns drawn. A third witness said the person police were approaching had something in each hand. The right hand held something long and black. Usaamah's brother Ibrahim said a cell phone was in one of those hands. Rahim was talking with his father when confronted by the officers. Ibrahim posting on Facebook his brother's last words were, "I can't breathe." According to police interviews, an EMT said Rahim uttered those words while lying in the parking lot after being shot.
His father was diagnosed with cancer, and so he was talking with his father on the phone. His father heard the commotion around him when he was on the phone, and he heard his son murdered. I mean, he said he could just hear the gurgling in his throat. On the other end of the line, he kept calling him, Usaamah, Usaamah, and then someone finally shut off Usaamah's phone, probably one of the police officers. But his father never got over it. He never recovered, and he died himself a year later.
In sworn statements, the Boston police officer and FBI special agent who fired the shots at Rahim said he was on the phone when they approached and identified themselves, showing their badges. They say Rahim responded, "Do I know you?" Take a look at this transcript of the Wiretap phone call, which police say shows them telling Rahim to put his hands up. The person on the phone, who Rahima says is Usaamah's father, says, "I can hardly hear you." That's when the officers shout, "Drop it." And Rahim says, "Why don't you drop yours?" The transcript shows the exchange with officers goes on for a few seconds, while the person on the phone keeps asking Rahim where he is. Rahim then says, "Come on, won't you shoot me?" Then, gunshots. In his final report, Suffolk County District Attorney Dan Conley concluded the task force officer's use of force was warranted. He wrote, when members of the FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force approached Mr. Rahim, he aggressively advanced on them while armed with a large military-style knife as they attempted to question him. Conley declined to be interviewed for this story, but referred us to that report. He writes Rahim was being watched after professing his allegiance to the terrorist group ISIS and his wish to attack police officers, something former Boston Police Commissioner William Evans explained to NBC News in 2015.
He was on a mission. He was out to get someone in blue. We had 24/7 surveillance on him, and we were monitoring all potential targets.
Rahima said her son was contacted by law enforcement a week before his death.
You know, Usaamah had said to me once that someone had called him and tried to speak with him. They said that they were FBI, and he said, "You know, why are they calling me? You know," he said, "I haven't done anything wrong. They need to get a warrant if they want to talk to me."
She says a neighbor even brought it up.
My next door neighbor one day said to me, "There was a guy around here and he was asking about you all." She said, "You know, what kind of people you are?" And she said, "I told me you're good people." She said, "He looked like a Fed." And I said, "A Fed?"
The district attorney wrote in his final report that Usaamah Rahim bought 3 military knives and was heard on recorded conversations with his nephew and co-conspirator David Wright discussing the weapons and the plan to commit an act of terrorism. That's why law enforcement officers acted so quickly that morning. Well, we learn more detail about the timeline leading up to June 2nd, 2015. During the trial of David Wright, he was ultimately convicted of conspiracy to commit acts of terrorism transcending national boundaries and other crimes.
The original plan was initially to behead this woman, Pamela Geller, a far-right activist who held anti-Muslim events, according to former Suffolk County District Attorney Dan Conley. But on the morning of June 2nd, around 5 a.m., before he left the house, Conley wrote Usaamah Rahim made a call to a co-conspirator, this time deciding to abandon the plan to attack Geller and instead move quicker and attack one of the boys in blue in Boston that day.
Recorded phone calls suggest Wright and Rahim conspired together in plans to commit violent jihad and spoke in guarded language. In one call, Wright allegedly sang to Rahim, quote, "You're attempting to go on vacation, I see." Rahim responding, "Yeah, I'm going to be on vacation right here in Massachusetts. I'm going to go after them, those boys in blue, because it's the easiest target." The FBI saying, quote, "Going on vacation is code for committing violent jihad."
According to Conley's report, Rahim was heard telling his co-conspirator he likely would not survive the operation and wanted to meet Allah through jihad.
They said that my son was talking on the phone with David, and he said something, and they know that that means if you said that you're going to go on vacation, that means this, and if you go on vacation means that, and they analyze it and add their own interpretation.
The task force members decided to act, knowing Rahim would be heading to the bus stop on Washington Street to begin his day, and they expected him to be carrying a knife. Ultimately, the district attorney concluded that the officers on the joint task force acted appropriately.
I'm glad the affidavit came out so people understand the threat level that we had. And there was a lot of questions, why did you stop them? And I think it's clear they had some real malicious intent.
That intent laid out in detailed testimony during the federal trial for David Wright, Usaamah Rahim's nephew and best friend, giving the most detailed look at their alleged plan. Wright was arrested at his Everett home the same day Usaamah Rahim was shot by police. Federal agents who made that arrest testified they were watching Wright's house that morning to make sure he didn't leave.
Broke down the doors, threw in flash bombs into the house. And her oldest daughter didn't know what was going on, and she was in the kitchen making sandwiches for the children that were going on a school outing. She ran out of the house barefoot, down the back stairs, because she didn't know what it was. They used a battering ram to ram in the door, and then they threw in that flash bomb. When she got outside, there were, I guess, the SWAT team with the rifles pointed at her.
According to the testimony, Wright was initially handcuffed during the interview that lasted 6 hours. Despite that, investigators say he was willing to speak, though the defense argued his statements weren't voluntary and he pleaded not guilty. But at the federal trial, alleged co-conspirator Nicholas Ravinsky testified against Wright and offered details about their plans along with Usaamah Rahim. Wright came to believe ISIS was justified and was legitimate after 3 weeks of research, according to Ravinsky. He testified he'd been speaking with Wright online for months about their shared interest in the Islamic State, or ISIS, and that the two moved their conversations to an encrypted website to avoid being tracked. He told the court he met Wright on a secluded Rhode Island beach in May of 2015, where they talked about plans to steal a police cruiser, a plan to behead Pamela Geller, and passed videos and a magazine supporting ISIS. Ravinsky, who signed both a plea and cooperation agreement with prosecutors to testify against Wright, told the court he and Wright, along with Usaamah Rahim, met a second time at that Rhode Island beach, just days before the arrests and Rahim's death. They discussed weapons for carrying out the beheading of Pamela Geller, who they say the Islamic State wanted dead because she insulted the messenger or the Prophet Muhammad. Ravinsky testified Usaamah bought knives for the attack and that all three hoped to achieve martyrdom. He told the court the men pledged allegiance to the Islamic State at that meeting, a statement Wright's defense attorney says Ravinsky started making after deciding to cooperate with prosecutors. Ravinsky also testified there were no logistics in place to support the ideas they talked about, money, transportation, and dates, and he even testified to some of the other ideas the trio had that day on the beach, including hijacking a ship, while admitting the men didn't know the first thing about operating a boat. When it comes to Usaamah Rahim's reported knife-wielding confrontation with police on June 2nd, Ravinsky testified it was a surprise to him, something not discussed between the men. It was also a shocking turn of events for those who actually knew Rahim.
I don't think that he was going to take down America or kill any cops with that Bowie knife. And I think that it was a very sad and very sad occasion, especially for the family and for me as well. And I was very angry about it all. His beautiful mother was very determined in trying to bring some justice to this case and to bring it to the forefront and let people be able to better determine what was the injustice.
He lived with me. I would have noticed anything, any changes in him or any, all I saw was the same young man that I saw all the time. And we talk about different things, in society and things like that, but I never spoke with him about him joining any other group. As a matter of fact, he had often said in the past that that wasn't the right Islam for people to do terroristic acts.
While police and the Suffolk County District Attorney have given their final reports on the shooting of Usaamah Rahim, the Rahim family believes justice is not done because they haven't seen all the facts of the case.
No matter how heinous they try to paint Usaamah, there were 7 officers right there, FBI and local police officers, part of a task force. They were ready to intercept him. They knew he was coming on a certain bus. Why couldn't they have used pepper spray? Why couldn't they have used some non-lethal shot in the leg? Why did they have to kill him? And to me, that's an answer that we still haven't gotten.
In his statement after the shooting, then Police Commissioner William Evans acknowledged officers expected Usaamah to be armed, and they say they found a military-style knife. But the outcome wasn't expected. Evans told reporters the officers did not carry tasers. Their guns were their protection from a threat.
I don't think anyone expected the reaction we were going to get out of him, and that's why we had the tragic turnout.
Attorney Joe Simon says the full story still hasn't been revealed, since right now we only have law enforcement's side. That report from D.A. Conley and testimony from the Wright trial.
They're trying to say, look, we have an official statement from the police. we have other information, but we're not going to give it to you. And based on the information that we've given you, this is a justified shooting and there's no controversy, case closed. The problem is, we know there's more to the story. We have heavy redactions to the information that was given to Rahima. The information includes witness statements, but we don't know who those witnesses are. These are non-law enforcement civilian witnesses whose names and information we haven't been given. So there are people like that we'd like to be able to interview, and we're not able to.
In December of 2020, in what was assumed to be a long shot by Simons, he and Rahima caught another break. Federal Judge Indira Talwani rejected the defendant's request to move on without a trial, opening the door for Rahima and her attorney to possibly question the officers involved in the shooting and view other information the government has in its possession.
The judge wrote a very meticulous 20-something page decision and said it would be unfair to dismiss the case, and we are in fact allowed to conduct depositions and put those law enforcement officers under oath and make them answer for what they did on the day in question and leading up to that day.
At least it seemed that after this long fight of 5 years of trying to get heard and trying to get some type of justice for the death of my son, somebody seemed to hear.
Yes, the judge's decision is a significant victory for the plaintiffs. Most of these cases, because of qualified immunity, are disposed of by way of motions. Usually it's a motion to dismiss. They tried that, the court said no. They then came with a motion for summary judgment, providing the court affidavits and the investigative report and other information saying, listen, we don't need discovery here. We win because the law says that our actions were reasonable under the circumstances. You don't need to look any further. Many judges would have accepted that argument, accepted the affidavits at face value, and accepted the report, and in fact granted summary judgment and denied the plaintiff their right to discover information and to a jury trial. She said no.
The officers have since appealed Judge Talwani's decision and are waiting on a decision. Rahima believes she can still find justice.
It gave me hope that if she's looking at it that closely and giving us a chance to see some of the things or question some of the things and find those missing pieces and bring them to light, that there's a chance for us to get justice for Usaamah.
She believes one way to get there is challenging the legal term qualified immunity.
What it means on a simple basis is that as a general matter, we don't hold public officials accountable for mistakes they make in good faith.
The officers involved in Rahim's shooting are using this defense. In their motion for summary judgment, the officers cited statements in the DA's report where the Boston police officer identified himself to Rahim and told him to drop the knife. They say when Rahim started walking toward them with the weapon, they fired once he was within 21 feet. That's the distance where a person with a knife can attack before an officer can draw a gun and fire accurately before being stabbed. Police Chief and Massachusetts Police Accreditation Commission member George McNeil says qualified immunity has merit for police officers.
That protection is needed for an officer to be able to function, knowing they go into situations that they have no idea what the outcome may be, and they may have to react in make split-second decisions. But if they go in with a good intention, their intentions are good, then they're protected. Their qualified immunity kicks in. And that needs to be there. It has to be.
Qualified immunity has been invoked in countless cases involving police, and calls to repeal it are growing and gaining momentum across the country. Massachusetts Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley recently introduced the Ending Qualified Immunity Act of 2021, an effort to change the law nationwide. Mansfield, Massachusetts Police Chief Ron Sellin, who is also an attorney, says the term has become a dividing line.
What I find is a misconception as it relates to qualified immunity is that it does not bar criminal prosecution. And it also does not bar plaintiffs from filing suits against other avenues, whether it be the municipality or other parties that are involved in the case as well. What basically qualified immunity says is that officers can only act upon what they know at the time what the law is. And not what could be speculative or, what have you, because otherwise it would open the floodgates to litigation.
But at the end of the day, Selin says people want accountability.
People want a better level of service, and they want less uses of force. And the things we consider, and when you're looking at those two, is that that's exactly what police chiefs and the police officers want as well, is that we want to be able to provide a better level of service, and we want to be able to provide less uses of force.
There's an absolute, legitimate, legal and moral argument why law enforcement officials should get the benefit of the doubt in most circumstances. Those decisions have to be made, and they are life and death decisions. In places you and I wouldn't want to be, at times we wouldn't want to be there, where legitimately those officers' lives are at risk. And that is the idea at its core behind qualified immunity. The problem with it is that the courts have expanded it such that now it is so difficult for an individual to address their constitutional violations and to get the access to discovery.
In other words, witnesses never get the chance to testify under oath.
The truth is obtained in that process.
We brought flowers and balloons on the anniversary of his death, and we released the balloons here. We brought flowers and put there.
Usaamah Rahim and her family live with what happened June 2nd, 2015 each day. She took us back to the parking lot where her son was killed. She stood under a sign someone put up to remember Usaamah.
We all cry together. We, remember our loved ones, and it's hard, but we have to do it.
We caught up with her again recently as she awaits any developments.
It's like they sort of brush it under the rug as though it never happened. But we know that it did happen and that Usaamah is dead.
And her grandson, David Wright, is still in prison, convicted of conspiracy to commit acts of terrorism transcending national boundaries and other crimes. In September of 2020, he was sentenced again, this time to 30 years in prison. Wright was originally sentenced to 28 years in 2017, but was ordered to be re-sentenced again by a different Boston federal court judge after an appeals court overturned one of his convictions. His mother, Usaamah Rahim's daughter, is not ready to publicly speak about the case, neither is Wright's attorney. And Nicholas Ravinsky, the third man charged in connection with this case, was released from prison in August of 2020. He will finish out his 15-year sentence in home confinement. His attorneys argued he was vulnerable to contracting COVID-19 because he has cerebral palsy, hypertension, and depression. We reached out to his lawyer to speak with Ravinsky for this piece, but the attorney said neither would comment. Rahim is choosing to remember her youngest son as she knew him.
Usaamah knew that I loved vanilla shy. I just love the spices and everything, just aromatic. I love it. So he would always stop in there and get vanilla shy for me. And he would tell the sales girls that he'd get two, one for him, one for me. He said, I'm getting this for my mom. So when Usaamah was killed that day, I went back to that area because it was around the corner from me. The CVS was in that parking lot and Dunkin' Donuts was there. And I went back with a picture of Usaamah, and I hoping that maybe someone had filmed it. Maybe somebody saw something that the police hadn't grabbed up yet. And so I went back into the Dunkin' Donuts, and they hadn't met me. They didn't know I was Usaamah's mother, and so I said, I'd like to find out if anybody can recall what happened a few days ago. I said my son was murdered in the parking lot, and I wondered, did any of you see anything? Does anyone know anything? And I said, I have a picture of him. And so they came over, and I showed them the picture, and one of the young ladies started crying. She said, I know him. She said he would always come in here to get vanilla shy for his mother. And she started crying. She said, not him. I said, yeah.
How did that make you feel when you heard that story?
Yeah, that someone remembered him, and other people, when the press interviewed some of our neighbors, they remembered him. He was a good guy, a real good guy.
How dare you stand up and say that my son was planning to harm someone? You pretend to be able to read people's minds, and then pretend to be able to decipher and explain what they meant by this or what they meant by that, when you yourselves were the ones plotting to do harm to him.
And that's why Rahima wants to keep her son's story alive. She works with Boston-based Mass Action Against Police Brutality to advocate for change in policing, especially in cases where deadly force is used.
We say, no, DA, you do not have the last word. The people have the last word. We see a crime has been committed. Let it go to trial. You don't get to decide.
Brock Satter runs the organization. It started in the wake of the 2014 protests in Ferguson, Missouri, after Michael Brown was killed by a police officer, and became more visible in the death of George Floyd. The group uses the power of protest to call attention to the victims left in the wake of police violence, the families.
I mean, I think it's the most powerful thing. There's nobody taking the streets that has any more of a reason to be out there than the families themselves, you know. They have a monopoly on the moral authority of this movement. There is no leader, no organization that can claim, you know, to represent this fight more than the families.
What we need to do now is to move forward. We need to get all of those cases reopened. My son's case was never opened.
Rahima has found camaraderie with other mothers and family members who found themselves in similar situations.
It's like people can empathize with you, but unless it has happened to you and you've actually had a loss like that, you can't quite understand what it's like. It's like a person who explains giving birth, or the fact of feeling a child moving around inside your stomach, that feeling that you get. You can explain it as a professor, as a nurse, but unless you experience it yourself, you don't actually know what it feels like. So that's the same with losing someone so brutally.
So what does justice mean?
Will you prosecute police? Will they go to jail when they commit crimes? That's the only question we're concerned with. And we'll pressure everything, the government from the lowest to the highest levels to get, to defend the rights of the people.
For Rahim, it starts with accountability and reopening the investigation into her son's killing.
Well, Usaamah's case was never opened. I mean, it was closed and shut by the DA, the previous DA. He made his assumptions, he made his conclusions based on what he heard from the police officers. Justice is opening the case for Usaamah, looking at the material that they have. It doesn't need to be any new material. Look at what you have.
Rahim is waiting on a meeting from the new district attorney, Rachel Rollins. In 2019, Rollins became Suffolk County's first woman elected as district attorney and first woman of color to be elected district attorney in the state. Rahim received a letter from Rollins' office in late 2020, but a scheduled meeting was canceled.
Finally, after a few weeks, I did catch up with her secretary, who informed me that Rachel Rollins was instructed by her, advisors not to meet with me. And she was not planning to meet with me until my case was over. And I say, what's the sense in meeting with me when it's over?
Rollins sat down with us. She couldn't speak about specifics of the investigation, but says she has an obligation to the Rahim family and will look into the case, as well as others in the county where police use deadly force.
We are in the process now of meeting with those families, and ultimately they will be presented to the discharge integrity team. I believe there's going to be a little bit of a more formalized process moving forward. Similar to our Integrity Review Bureau, where we would ask for specifics about what, with respect to previous determinations under different administrations, what was lacking, what specifically are you asking us to look into, sort of similarly to a motion for a new trial.
Rollins created the Discharge Integrity Team after police shot and killed a person in Roxbury. The panel meets monthly at a Boston law office to review cases of alleged officer misconduct.
Part of why I started the Discharge Integrity Team, which is the first in the nation, it is a group of 5 people, not in the DA's office, that conducts the investigation. A retired Superior Court judge, it is a criminal defense attorney, a member of the community who happens to run a community health center and is a survivor of homicide herself, and an active member of law enforcement, because it's very important that we have an expertise on this panel as well, not just in criminal defense or, trial practice or trauma, which we have those three, but also in the pattern, the procedures and practices of law enforcement and what the best standards are with respect to de-escalating and encounters with civilians or residents.
When a trigger is pulled, lives can change forever. The officer, the victim, and their families. What happens after is what matters.
6 years later, Rahima's life has changed, but she is not deterred. She's looking toward the day when the light can fully shine on her son's case, revealing all of the details into his death.
Usaamah wasn't my only child. I have 2 other sons. I have 2 daughters. I have 17 grandsons, 5 granddaughters. I have 2 great-grandsons and granddaughters, so it's for them too. I want them to be safe. I don't want their parents to worry about them when they step out the door, that someone is going to assassinate them. I will not stop my struggle, refuse to live in a bubble. I'll continue to take a bended knee, my fist thrust up for freedom, justice, and equality. For justice for you and justice for me. Stand strong together, and we will all see justice for you and justice for me.